I mean, I need an intro.
Yeah.
Hello from your favorite grassland PR team. This is the best biome, where we talk about the most underrated and underappreciated and overexploited ecosystem on our fair planet. I'm Alan.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Nicole. I'm very excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking about an animal that I've been wanting to talk about for like 2 years now, since the beginning of this. I don't know why I kept putting it off. It's a mystery. Well, we always are like, oh, the underappreciated. So then we talk about bugs and like weird birds and, you know, Saiga antelope. But it's like pronghorn are really cool and like we should just talk about them.
Yeah, for sure.
Fine. It's fine. Let's just talk about them.
They are underappreciated. Probably.
I mean, yeah, we think of them as being like the top 40 hits of grasslands we're talking about here. But it's like, no, they're still underappreciated. It's still a niche genre, okay?
Yeah.
How many people even know what a pronghorn is if they don't hunt?
I bet if I asked 8 people at the library where I work,
Yeah.
one of them would know what a pronghorn is.
Please test this. I'm very curious.
Okay, yeah.
I bet the other 7 would ask me to stop bothering them.
Fair.
Yes.
I would do that probably.
Yep.
Okay. Anyways, pronghorn are very fun. I like them a lot. They're very pretty. They're fast. They're weird, and just wonderful. Their scientific name means American goat antelope. They are not a goat. They are not an antelope.
Hilarious.
But,
American
you know,
goat antelope.
They do superficially look very antelope-y, though.
they do 100%.
And more than a little goatee.
Yeah, they got weird faces. You look too close at a pronghorn and you get a little spooked. It's fine. It happens.
How close? Like dead on?
Yeah.
Can you make eye contact with the pronghorn? How's that
We'll
work?
talk about it.
Okay.
I actually do have stuff about that.
I don't really know if you can.
I mean, I think they can see everything at all the time.
Pretty much.
So, like, if there's a pronghorn standing in the middle of this room, it'd be making eye contact with all of us.
All of
If
us.
its butt was facing us, it would be making eye contact with us.
I don't care for it. All right, let's move on.
They're amazing. I really wanted to start this out talking about their history and like how they evolved and some of the ancient pronghorn out there and stuff like that. We won't delve too much into it because apparently there's 50 different species of ancient pronghorn. Ish. Don't have time to talk about all of them, but we will talk about some of them.
Dang. All right.
I wonder what made... Sorry. This is something I'm hoping... Okay. I hope by the end of this to know why this pronghorn survived the duel of all the pronghorn to make it, you know?
My hypothesis killed the rest of them off. That's why there's only one species of human left. And we also interbred with them.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's a non-existence. Yeah.
I guess if you're not familiar with what a pronghorn is, maybe we should set that scene first. They are wonderful little gazelle-like creatures that live in North America, specifically in the plains of kind of western U.S. And I think they're like 3 feet tall-ish.
At the shoulder?
Yeah, they're not they're not super big.
Yeah.
And they have like these beautiful stripes. They're usually like a rusty color with like a white underbelly. There are multiple subspecies that are still alive today. So depending on the subspecies, they have slightly different coloring, but morphologically very similar to each other. And they have these beautiful like black face markings and just these gorgeous horns that are pronged on the end. Pronghorn. Wow.
Whoa.
Right.
And we'll talk more about those in a little bit because they are very weird. But yeah, they're just these wonderful little creatures. Second fastest land animal in the world. Fastest in North America. They can hit speeds of 60 miles an hour and can sustain speeds of 30 to 40 for miles. They are
cheetah.
Yeah. They are built for speed and they're just really good at surviving out on the prairie. I got a little like scared when I was researching this part because I was afraid that I had been lied to my whole life, like many other fun animal facts, you know?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I had always been told that pronghorn were so fast because of what used to hunt them many years ago. Because currently Coyotes, they hit speeds of like 45 miles an hour. Wolves are like 40. Pumas are like 35, 40. So they outpace every North American predator by like a lot.
Sure.
But historically, we used to have cheetahs on the Great Plains. And I mean, they were the American cheetah. It was not the same species that we still have today. But they have very similar morphologies and probably hit similar speeds. We don't know for sure because, you know, they're dead. But likely very similar. And I started kind of looking into that.
Oh, no.
And people were like, we have no idea if American cheetahs actually ate pronghorn, even though they did exist at the same time, because pronghorn are a very, very ancient lineage of animals. But then I found a paper that specifically said that we do know what American cheetahs ate, and we know for sure that they ate pronghorn.
Oh, good.
And I breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know how any of weird bone analysis works, but they found this out through isotopic analysis of bone collagen. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
I didn't really try that hard to figure out what it means, but do you know what that means, Alan?
They can figure out where the cells that make up the bones come from. Is that what they're talking about? Or
I mean,
the collagen, I guess.
Yeah, but like, what are they? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess I don't know how you infer diet from that.
No idea.
Yeah.
But we have partially like mummified remains of American cheetahs, which is super cool.
Oh, that's true. I guess they're recently. We're not talking like mineralized fossils necessarily. Like there's some like I mean, not, you know what I mean? Like,
soft tissue preservation.
Yeah. So that I guess is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So. Sick.
Neat.
Super cool. But yeah, I got scared because they were like, well, it's just a theory. But then like this paper was like, no, we know 100% sure they definitely ate pronghorn. Whether or not it was truly like an arms race of I go faster, you go faster, who knows? But it's a good theory. And I don't know, I really love that because I don't think a lot of people realize that we have cheetahs. And those cheetahs, I believe, are very closely related to the cheetahs that we have today. They came over once upon a time, found North America to be a great place to live. I also found out that pronghorn as a group have been in America way longer than I realized. So the oldest fossils that we have found in this family are about 28 million years old in North America.
Wow. Okay, that's very ancient.
Yeah.
That would predate bison for sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Huh.
Dang.
They're dope. And these aren't like, because sometimes we think of like ancient horses didn't really look like horses. Like vaguely kind of sort of, but like they were very different. Ancient pronghorn were very, very similar. They might have been a little bit smaller. Some of them probably lived in more forested habitats, but they really diversified when we started getting grasslands taking over the landscape, and they just loved it, and they did really, really well in that landscape.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like they are very much like grassland animals, and I just love that. And there's 50 of them. Had no idea.
That's so cool.
And I will say though,
Oh no.
something else I found out is I specifically said that the oldest North American fossil is 28 million years old.
Oh no.
There have been pronghorn teeth, ancient pronghorn teeth, found in Mongolia that are 32 million years old.
Ooh.
I always thought that pronghorn were endemic to North America, but they aren't. They crossed over, 30 million years ago, like so many other animals. So I had no idea.
I guess that makes sense because at some point, because they're related to giraffes very distantly. Yeah. So at some point, Africa and North America connected in some way.
So why does it seem like every large herbivore crossed the Beringian land bridge? Like, what was here before that? I'm very
Terror birds.
Yeah. Well, and camels are North American, right? And they went the other way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
All the camelids are from the Americas.
Miss our camels.
It's like we had giraffe-shaped camels here.
Oh yeah.
And then there were giraffe-shaped giraffes that sent us antelope-shaped pronghorn giraffe things.
Yeah, that is fair. I guess we had ground sloths and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. And mammoths.
Mhm.
No.
Where did they originate?
Yeah, where do they?
I don't know.
I
don't
just
know.
taught a lecture about this.
Well, you know.
Like less than like 2 months ago.
Well, you got to free up that brain space for more
Yeah.
important things now.
Can't remember it all.
Semester's over.
Yeah.
Delete.
D&D is forever.
That's right.
fill it with facts about mountains.
Yes. Absolutely. But yeah, I had no idea they were not endemic to America. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just dumb. But I had no idea.
No.
That's cool.
And in addition to a very rich, like, fossil history, there's also a lot of, like, ancient cave paintings, pieces of artwork like pottery, and, you know, drawings that exist around pronghorn, which I find just absolutely lovely. We've been, like, enraptured with them for thousands of years, and I just really love that.
Aww.
They are cool.
Mhm.
What?
You're just a delight,
I
Alan.
just like them. I know where to find them. I can show you. I can take you to some pronghorn right now.
All right, let's wrap
Whoa.
this recording up and go.
Drive out to Wallace County, Kansas.
Okay.
There seem to be more pronghorn than people there. I bet
possible.
There probably are. There's just, they're everywhere. Bounce, 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 bounce. All right. Continue, Nicole.
Beautiful. They do bounce a lot. What is it called? Pronking.
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 No, pronking.
Pronking?
Pronking is the thing that gazelle and antelope do.
Oh,
when they
that's
just
like the
blink,
kind
blink,
of
blink.
locomotion.
Yeah.
And they stand on all four like legs just rigid, just like boom, boom.
So it's like an onomatopoeia as well. It's like bronk, bronk,
Yeah.
bronk.
I don't think it makes that.
Yes. Yes, it does.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I believe you, Alan.
it's the sound they make in their head when they do it. Bronk, bronk, bronk. All right.
Nicole, get us back on
Nicole.
track.
Okay.
We are on track. I'm not. Yeah.
Ancient pronghorn.
Yes.
Body, size, shape, very similar. Horns, absolutely wild. There were pronghorn that had, you know, the normal, like, base that split into two prongs. There were some that had three prongs. There were some where they were like twice as long as modern pronghorn, but still only had the two little tips. There were some with a really short base and then like two really long prongs on them. There were some that looked more like deer antlers. There were some that looked like moose antlers.
Whoa.
Absolutely wild. There was one that I found that was just like straight back and spiraled, like a lot of modern gazelles are. They just had an amazing assortment of horn shape sizes. There's some debate as to why they were so varied. I found a really weird YouTube video that had no sources, no music, no, it wasn't talk. It was just like pictures and like text over it. It was weird. And they said that the shape of the horns depended on whether or not they gored each other to death or they would just like fight. And I'm like, all right. I mean, sure, why not?
You
Like
find
if they're-
dubious sources.
That one's really dubious.
So whether or not they were just like wrestling, like interlocking horns, and
Yes.
yeah, or if they were just murdering one another.
Yeah.
I guess either way, it's like a sexually selected characteristic, right?
Yeah.
What?
Right? I mean, that's the deal with all horns and antlers, right?
Yeah. You use them to spar with other males.
Yeah.
The females
Oh, and okay.
Yeah, the
Yes.
females do have horns, but they tend to be much smaller. So, and that's true with all the species that I looked at, as far as like ancient lineages, and true with the modern species as well. I also found there is, oh my gosh, what is it called? There is a museum. It's a mammoth museum, but they have a special section just on pronghorn evolution.
Cool.
And I really want to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I looked it up. It's only $11 to walk in that door.
Oh.
I'm ready.
where is it?
I don't remember where it was or what the name of it was.
Oh.
Sounded cool though.
Check the show notes for that museum.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, something else that's kind of weird about the pronghorn cheetah, did they evolve because of each other debate, is that the American cheetah, at least the fossils that we have so far, aren't very old. So the oldest one that I could found was only about like 2.5 million years old. And when we're talking about an animal that started diversifying, 25 million years ago, that's a big discrepancy. So I'm really curious what was hunting them before that. And I guess the answer is probably just pumas and,
wolves.
Yeah, wolves. But I don't really know.
Is it always assumed that all pronghorn were capable, like all these various species were capable of reaching similar speeds to modern pronghorn, or were they like, since they were different in stature, were some of them like are the pronghorn that exist today among the fastest of them?
I mean, I really don't know, and I couldn't find any like definite answers on that. I'm going to guess that probably a lot of them were slower. They were smaller. A lot of them, especially the early ones, were living in more forested habitats. They didn't have any reason to be that fast, so I imagine they were slower.
Okay, yeah.
And then maybe our modern day species, maybe it survived just because it was the fastest.
That's what I was thinking.
And all the other ones died off because they just couldn't cut it.
Oh man, the cheetah can catch everybody except
Yep.
this pronghorn.
It's true. I mean, there would have been a ton of, like, not just the cheetah, but I mean, there are a ton of other large cats in America at that time
for
as
sure.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, scary time to be an herbivore.
Absolutely. But yeah, and then we are left only with our modern one species. Does anyone know how many subspecies there are of pronghorn?
3.
3?
5.
5 is correct.
Nice. Nailed it.
Good job. We have the American pronghorn, which is, I believe, the most numerous and the most widespread. It's probably the one that most people have seen. The Oregon pronghorn, which lives in sagebrush steppes of eastern Oregon. Wow. And then the Mexican pronghorn, which lives in southern Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Mexico. Sonoran pronghorn, which is endangered, lives in the extreme southern part of Arizona and Mexico. The peninsula pronghorn, which is also endangered, which has very isolated populations in Baja California.
Interesting.
Okay. Wow, yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea that those guys existed before this.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
Before very recently. But yeah, and I had no idea we had 5 subspecies. I knew about the Sonoran. I feel like the PR team for the Sonoran pronghorn, they do a great job. Everybody knows about those guys. But these other ones, honestly, I couldn't find a whole lot of information about some of them. Really only the Sonoran and the Peninsula are, again, they're the only ones that are endangered, and they're doing okay. They are increasing in numbers. And then the other ones, like the American pronghorn, least concern, it's doing fine. It's doing quite well.
Cool.
I mentioned that I wanted to talk more about their horns because they're just really bizarre, even just having the one modern species. Because of the weird, is it a horn, is it an antler debate? I'm sure you guys are familiar.
Yeah. It's kind of neither, right? It's kind of its own thing.
It is absolutely its own thing, because when we think of horns, like a rhino horn, it has a bony center and then it's covered in keratin, a hardened keratin kind of skin. Antlers are bony and they fall off every year. Horns do not. Pronghorn horns have a bony core covered in keratin, but they also fall off every year. So it's kind of a mixture of an antler and a horn characteristics.
They fully fall off, or they just like...
Well, they shed the outside part of it. So there is a bony core that is like what you think of like a horn. That bony core stays, and the sheath sheds every year and grows back.
So it is still part of their skeletal anatomy, but it's different.
Yes.
They're left with basically like little giraffe nodules on top of their head.
It's like almost
Ossicones.
like ossicones. Yeah.
Good word.
It's a great word. But yeah, and I do wonder, like, it has to be because of their relation to the giraffe and those ossicones. Like, if you look back at their family tree, like, it's ossicones and then suddenly these weird pronghorns. Like there's very little middle ground.
That's so interesting.
It's just
Yeah.
because
How-
go
no.
ahead. No, you. I
go.
insist.
No,
I demand.
Not happening.
So, like, is that? I mean, again, is that the case with all pronghorns that they have these sort of half horn, half antler ossicone doodles?
Yes. And so
Okay.
it does kind of make it hard to like guess at what the horns really looked like when we're looking at fossils.
Yeah, sure.
Because we only have the bones. And so you can kind of see the underlying structure when you look at the old fossils. But like especially with modern pronghorns, like it's just a point. Like it doesn't branch at all, even though the actual horn on top does branch. So we can only make, educated guesses as to what those animals actually looked like, because it's
Yeah.
possible that the bony structure underneath doesn't actually match the morphology on top.
So you're saying that they don't? Do they not have any like impressions of it, even if they're not like obviously preserved and mineralized?
I don't know for sure.
I would think that they would have like some sort of like impression, or some
Probably at least
reason
some
to
of them.
believe some of the diversity that you described in the beginning.
Well, you can see it in the bones. Even in just the bones, they do have a lot of morphological like differences.
Oh,
like the one that looks like a moose antler, like the bone part of it looks like a moose antler, and then obviously the sheath on top would expand upon that.
Who? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What would that even look like?
Weird.
Cool.
It's really weird.
Yeah, it's
Pronghorn skulls are wild looking.
I have a physiology question about this.
I'll try.
So like when deer are growing new antlers, they have like this like velvet skin on the top of it that feeds the new bone as it's growing, and then they would like shred that off, and it's really disgusting. And then there's just like antlers, right?
Yeah.
How on earth do they grow this like hairy keratinous sheath? Like what does that even look like? Like how does that happen? What is
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it's like a velvet situation though.
right, like because it's dead.
Yeah, and it is like for all intents and purposes, like it basically is a horn, other than it falls off every year.
So then how do they regrow a horn?
I don't know, man. Pronghorn are weird, and
yeah,
like
I don't
you,
know, yeah.
whenever like in captivity, rhinos will have their horns shaved down, and I do believe that like they'll grow back. Like rhino horns like constantly grow.
Does it grow like out of the surface of the little ossicone like bone protrusions?
I guess so.
Rhino horns are solid keratin though. They're not bony.
They have a bony core. So it's
do? Oh, I
it doesn't
thought they
go
were
it
just-
doesn't go
okay.
all the way. So like, and when you think of like cattle horns, it's usually like about a third of it is
Okay.
bone, like,
Okay.
and then the rest, like the tip of it is all keratin. Yeah,
So it's kind of like when I'm watching a farrier video and I'm like, ooh,
you're going real deep,
he's
but like
he's cutting that hoof too short, and it's like, no, he's fine. There's so much hoof there.
Yes.
Ooh, oh my god, that's a really good point. Because they
Yes.
also call hooves horn when they're trimming them in those videos.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like literally the same thing, or
Ooh.
very similar.
Yeah, interesting.
Right. Yeah.
so
But
Which
it
is
like
all
looks different.
modified hair.
yes.
Whew,
But like
guys.
pronghorn horns like look hairy,
Yeah,
and toenails don't, and neither
Yeah.
do cow hooves.
Yeah.
You know.
these are all good points.
Bodies are wild.
Is this timed with reproduction?
Yes.
And like you would see in cervids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so the males will drop their horns early enough so that by the time breeding season comes around, they will have the full horn back and be ready to fight other males.
This is so.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where like you just like, oh yeah, of course they put new antlers on every year, but it's like,
Antlers are the
Antlers-
fastest growing bone that we know of.
yeah, that's what's crazy. Like large bucks are growing like 6 feet of bone in a
Yeah.
couple months.
Yeah.
Like
Insane.
that's
So energetically expensive.
yeah, it's crazy.
Like you have to eat a lot to grow 6 feet of bone.
It's so weird.
Gosh.
It's
Ugh.
wild. And that's also why like antlers like often will have like weird protrusions on them. Like they're very rarely, symmetrical, because it's just like uncontrolled growth.
Damn.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
good stuff, nature.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, and what's really cool as far as like dropping antlers and stuff, they have found that like the dominant males in I almost said pack, in a herd will drop their horns sooner so that they can grow their horns sooner and be ready to fight sooner.
Ooh.
Interesting. Dominant males.
Yeah, the dominant males will drop their horns. Yeah.
They probably got all the use out of them that they needed to by the end of the season.
Yeah.
They had a good run, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is specifically pronghorn. I'm not sure if that happens in like deer and stuff.
Oh.
But yeah.
Did you guys see that video of the moose who shook its antlers off and they got afraid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Fantastic.
I would also
Anyway,
get afraid if my
sorry.
head was suddenly like, 40 pounds lighter or
Oh,
something.
God. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Nope, it's perfect.
Unrelated. But...
I like the surround sound that your voice probably made just then going, whoa, God.
Their horns are just fascinating to me. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody really understands why they are the way that they are. We just know kind of how they work and are like, sounds good, and just move on with our lives.
It's
fair.
It's just a weird, it's an evolutionary oddity.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and like all the wild, crazy, bizarre horns of the world they evolved to those extremes because of, it's just like, it is, it's like a sexually selected characteristic. It's like, it just keeps going crazier and crazier because why not?
Mm-hmm. Like Watusi cattle, like their horns are ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you've never seen a Watusi, Google it right now. They're insane.
Are those the ones with that are like
yeah, their like horns are like 18 inches in diameter or
Good
something.
God, yeah.
Insane.
Good stuff. Whew. All right.
Yeah. And there were so the whole giraffe lineage in general is kind of weird. I found these one little guys that are not pronghorn, but they're kind of in that weird almost pronghorn, definitely not giraffes, kind of look like gazelles, but definitely aren't gazelles either. Mm-hmm. That messy part of the giraffe lineage. Mm-hmm. And they have these like almost triceratops like horns on the like it's not really on the back of their head, like it's on like the front of their head, and they're like butterfly shaped. It's wild.
Are you talking about Triceratops horns or like the
frill?
shield?
Sorry,
Like
like the frill. Yeah,
what?
it's
what
and they're like
animal is
butterfly
this?
shaped. It's
Say this again.
It's some sort of pronghorny. What's it called?
So they're called Climacoseridae. It's part of the giraffe superfamily. I have a picture for you. Do you want the Google it?
Climacus. I'm just trying to help people at home know how to look up this animal.
Yeah. So
Climacoceras. Okay.
yeah, Ceratidae. It's the weirdest little dudes.
Climacus. What?
And yeah, like it literally looks almost like a triceratops frill.
It looks like a butterfly
horn.
just stamped on the top of his head.
Yeah. Obviously the colors are, who knows what the colors were. But
yeah.
And that's bony.
Yeah.
But that still looks like it has skin.
I mean, it's a drawing.
Well,
I won't tell you.
It might be like hair or, horn.
Well, yeah. And so, and the thing
whatever.
is, let me put this down. So giraffe ossicones, and it's possible with these guys too, ossicones are different than horns because they have flesh covering them.
Oh my gosh.
That's wild.
So it is
This thing
possible.
It looks like a clicker from The Last of Us.
You're right.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So weird.
There's so many weird giraffe guys. Like,
His nose looks like it's suffering from like a paleontology shrink wrap, but
well, okay.
my.
Admittedly,
Okay.
pronghorn look like they're suffering a little bit from paleontology shrink wrap. Have you
That's
seen a
true.
pronghorn face? They're like so bony and weird.
every time you describe a pronghorn's face, I think I probably haven't looked at it close enough because none of the experiences you describe I have looked at a pronghorn.
Head on, they look weird.
It's like a coral
looks
reef
like
ossicone.
I'm telling you, they
this
got
is so
the most
strange.
wild. Here's since we're already
yeah.
distracted. Here's
Sorry.
a family tree.
wow.
These are all pronghorn.
All right, you pull over your car if you're in your car and Google Climacoceras and just look at these, listener. This is It's an audio medium, but we need you to understand the visual here because it's very strange.
Yeah.
And I promise you have not looked at animals that look this bizarre in a while.
They look made up.
It looks like it's from Pandora for sure.
Yeah.
This 100% is what? Okay.
So upset that we don't have these anymore.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Aw.
Bring them back.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
there were some of those other non-pronghorn weird giraffe guys also had like reindeer kind of antler looking things that
Ooh.
like they remind me of like every like 13-year-old's drawing of like a mythical deer with like the over exaggerated kind of like moon shaped antlers, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
Like it looks made up and just fantastical and amazing, and I love them.
Okay.
And they're all like kind of okapi shaped, like with the sloping
Yeah.
back, and like they're really cool.
That's
Really
very
neat.
fun. Very steepled sort of
Yes.
skeletal structure.
Yes. But enough about those guys. Let's go back to pronghorn.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry to get distracted.
Can we make a petition while we're thinking about it to bring back the triceratops looking guy
Yeah.
instead of the steppe bison? Let's just put all of
Oh,
that
okay.
effort.
Yes.
I'm
to
fine with bringing back
resurrecting. Yeah.
all of the
Let's do both.
megafauna. Yeah,
Yeah.
just all of it.
Mhm.
Just all of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Why not? What's the worst that could happen, right?
Well,
Why are you looking at us like you're waiting for us to fall into a trap?
No. It is a
Yeah.
trap because we've tried this before, and introducing
Oh.
creatures where they shouldn't be, is just awful. It's fine.
we need an island.
Oh, Jurassic Park
yeah.
this?
Hey. Yeah. Oh yeah, but it's just big mammals. So like, what
Yeah.
what harm
What's
is
the
there
worst
in
What's
that?
the worst that could happen?
Just obliterate all the wildlife on that island. Put our
Oh,
own
yeah.
on.
Island-
Build an artificial island.
Oh, that's
Okay.
true. And that's
Yeah.
a
Or a
fresh
brand
start.
new like volcanic island.
Oh my
Yes.
god, yeah.
There's a new
Ooh.
island off the coast of Japan that came up
Really?
this last year.
New island dropped?
Yeah.
Cool.
Fantastic. Oh my god, that's perfect. Yeah. And then nothing is getting wiped out.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
clean slate.
Mhm.
No grasses, but hey, we can see that. Like
Yeah.
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 for sure, for
Pioneer
sure.
it. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
It is
Okay.
exciting.
Ooh.
All right. That's 2025 Grassland Groupies
Okay.
project.
Buy an island.
Amazing.
Yes.
Buy a new island.
I love it.
Correct.
I love it.
Yeah.
What happens? Never mind. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. Pronghorn, the living species.
Okay.
Very cute, very fun. I can't help but always dive into like the social parts of it. Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Is pronghorn interchangeably describing the horn on a pronghorn and also the pronghorn animal itself?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I just
Oh, that is dumb. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people call them pronghorn antelope, but they're not antelope,
Yeah.
so it feels wrong to do that.
Her eye twitched just now.
Well, that's like the family they're in is Antelope
Antelope
capridae.
capridae.
Yeah. So
Tell me about it.
like what? Yeah. Which is antelope goat. Yeah. That's what that means.
It literally means,
That's so
American
dumb.
antelope
Okay.
goat. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Anyway.
Okay, thank you.
You know, sometimes you gotta do the best with what you know at the time. And at the time, maybe they were antelope.
Yeah.
We just know that they're not now. So
Great.
Sure.
it's fine. But modern day pronghorn have a really weird social hierarchy. I mentioned, that there's dominant males that drop their antlers early, all that good stuff. Just pronghorn in general are kind of sassy. I like the vibes that they're throwing down.
Okay.
They will often they will run away from predators, but they'll also fight back with those horns, no problem.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
They'll fight each other with the horns mostly, but they will fight back a predator. And when they see a predator, their first instinct isn't to run, it's to stare them down.
Creepy.
So if you stare down a pronghorn, they
Uh-huh.
might think you want to kill them. And they will stand their ground till you're very close to them a lot of times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So they have a fight over flight.
They do.
sort
To
of
an
reaction.
extent. I think usually they will end up fleeing,
Yeah.
but they will stand their ground a lot longer than gazelles or antelope, or I think even deer are pretty flighty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But pronghorn, they'll just stare you down.
Is it just a taunt to Be like, try it.
I think
Try it,
mostly.
Try it. Boom! I'm out of here.
Yeah. I mean, they're so fast. Like,
Yeah.
they know they can wait till the last second because they're going to get away. They're kind
There's
of
literally nothing that can catch them unless they're babies.
Yes.
Like day-old infants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess this brings me back to an earlier question. How can you tell if they're staring you down? Because, you know.
Great.
Well, they have a lot of posturing that they do. So, I mean, they will stare, like, if they're staring down, like, another male that's, like, in their territory.
Yeah.
They will do a lot of broadside standing where they stand, like, side by side, like, 10 feet away from each other and just, like, be intimidating by standing there. I don't know. And then they'll walk beside each other intimidatingly, like on the boundary line of their territory.
What does it look like to intimidatingly walk side
Literally,
by side?
they lower their head slightly and just walk beside each other and like snort and grunt a whole lot.
That sounds kind of cute.
I mean, it is.
It's not cute.
Not to another pronghorn, it isn't.
Yeah.
That is a try it, buddy. I'll
Yeah.
gore your eye out.
They're about to stab each other, Rachel.
I know, it kind of sounds like they're flirting, though.
No, it sounds like an entree to a pronghorn knife fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. But yeah.
Wow.
There's just a lot of, like, yeah, like I said, posturing in, like, pronghorn society. They have a about 300-degree range of vision. So, like we said earlier, if you're, I don't know, within like a mile of them, they're probably staring you down. They have excellent vision.
Did
They
you
live in very open habitats. Yeah. so.
did you mean 360 or 300 degree?
300.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's like they can't see like straight behind them, probably.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Dang.
Pretty good.
Pretty dang good,
That's
yeah.
a broad field. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and they, like I said, they'll do like this weird like parallel walking, and if that doesn't, with their heads down, if the head's up, no big deal. There's no beef to be had. But as soon as that head lowers,
Beef.
Beef.
and if the other pronghorn doesn't back off, which could just be raising his head, if the other pronghorn raises his head, everybody goes about their day. But if that head stays lowered,
Oh,
that's when the fights start.
buddy.
And a lot of times, like, I read this paper that was like 95 pages long. I read every word. It was fascinating. I loved it. And they like were very specific about how these interactions go. It was really, really cool. It's a pretty old paper. Let me double check the date. 1974.
Okay.
So like pretty old, but I mean, it seemed really accurate when I was kind of double checking some stuff with other more recent papers. But yeah, they were describing these, interactions a lot of times between males during, the rut, but also females will antagonize other females. A lot of times it's because they want to take over like a feeding area or like a really good little spot that they were sitting in. The females will just like butt the other one's rump and like push her out of the way, and then like just settle down and take a little nap. And then the males don't really do that though. If they bump another male out of an area, they won't like take over the area that he was using. They kind of just do it to be dicks to each other.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like that was something specifically mentioned in like multiple papers, that females will antagonize each other to like gain some sort of resource, but males do it just because you're in my way. Like,
Okay. It's not to demonstrate to females that they could if they wanted to. They could, Is this posturing, I mean, isn't it ultimately all about reproduction?
I mean, a lot of it is for sure. Yeah. For sure.
So what does you classified pronghorn species into like the tangle up kind and then the stab each other kind.
Yeah.
Where the American pronghorn, what does a fight look like?
A lot of times it's pretty, like, again, pretty non-combative. So they do all the posturing. If if it's rut especially, and they don't manage to scare the other one off, then a lot of times they'll kind of like just like bump heads first.
Okay.
So that's like a warning bump, and then they'll kind of lock horns, like we think of like deer locking antlers, and kind of throw each other around. But these fights can be deadly.
Gotcha.
So
Dang.
yeah.
Gotcha. It's reminding me of our fight de-escalation training of like how, you know, people like they yell at each other and like get in each other's faces, and what they're really hoping is that someone will step in and break them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they want to maintain the respect.
Yes.
In the image.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Image is big in pronghorn society. For sure. But yeah, and something that I did not realize is that they're not like, even though they do live in herds, it's more like a convenient way to look out for predators. Like, they don't do a lot of social grooming. They don't like nap together. They kind of, it's just like a loose like grouping of pronghorn out together looking for danger.
Okay.
Like, even the mothers, within a week of their babies being born, they're like, see ya, have fun in this nursery herd. I'm gonna go get some snacks. Like, they don't have a whole lot of motherly instinct, which is fine.
Okay.
Just surprising.
So they don't form like tight family units or like
Generational. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's more like Patagonian Mara and not like, definitely not like Painted Dog Society. You know, I don't know. It was weird
on the scale of social animals we've talked about so far.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that is interesting because I don't know, having like a pretty loose aggregate like that, I feel like isn't as common in mammals. Like, it seems like they're usually really strict.
Yeah, either really social or like, get the heck out of here.
Very solitary.
They tend to have like pretty similarly structured units, right? Less loosey goosey. Like, here's a collection of various pronghorn.
Yeah. And they will, and it also depends on the time of year. So during like the winter, they'll get into really big groups, but in the summer, you'll find lone male pronghorn wandering around, or you'll find bachelor groups, and then like those nursery herds I was talking about in like the spring. So, which are just going to be a lot of times females and their young. So, and the females actually go out on their own to give birth and join the nursery herds. Like I said, after about like I think it's like a week or two, they'll all kind of come back together to help raise each other's babies and look out for danger, basically.
Nice.
Which again is kind of weird. I guess, I think deer maybe do that as well, where they kind of go off on their own to give birth and then come back. But yeah, just weird. I always thought of pronghorn as being extremely social, but I don't know where that idea came from, because it's not true.
Interesting.
I guess just the fact that we associate them in herds more often than stuff like deer. Like, even with deer, I don't really think of them as being like a super herd animal. Like, often there's just like, I don't know, mom and her twins or whatever hanging out.
Yeah, for sure. And the males are usually pretty solitary. Interesting.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Why does a pronghorn's fur feel like a not a foosball? What are those little like fuzzy, like the little balls? They're like
Koosh balls?
Koosh balls. Thank you. But like a stiff version of a koosh ball.
So not like a koosh ball.
Yeah, I was confused by this.
like if you had a koosh ball. Is that what it's called?
I think it's koosh. K-O-S-H.
Yeah.
It's like if you left a koosh ball out in the sun and it shriveled up a little bit.
Gross.
Why does it feel like that?
You know, couldn't tell you.
Okay.
They don't have any, I guess they're not social, so they don't have any need to be soft.
Well,
Is that a trait of sociality? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
What?
Probably not. And also, well, like,
softness?
I always thought that,
and
like,
they live in hot environments. Like, they don't need like super thick fur. And usually, if you have thick fur, you're usually also very soft. Like chinchillas, very soft because they have so much fur. I mentioned the social aspect of them, specifically looking out for predation, and it's true that these guys are amazingly good at avoiding predation in general. They have excellent eyesight and obviously are very, very quick on their feet. An adult, healthy pronghorn like very rarely succumbs to predation. Rachel mentioned earlier, you know, if they can get them while they're young, predators, you know, they're easy pickings for predators for sure. But other than that, they don't have a whole lot to fear. they, like I said, will huff and stand broadside to a predator and alert the rest of the herd. Once they do start running, they have that crazy rump flash that they do where they erect their hairs on their rump that's nice and bright white, and it like doubles the size of that patch, and you can see it for miles, like literal miles.
So cool. With a big old flashy butt.
Yeah.
I absolutely love like the weird rump flashes that various like hoofed animals do, like the springboks, how it goes like halfway up their back and it's just like ridiculous.
Oh, it's wild.
It's so cool. Like what a weird adaptation that so many animals have managed to evolve, even ones that aren't closely related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like almost skunky.
yeah.
That's interesting.
I love it.
Well, isn't it mainly because, well, I don't know about it being on the rump specifically, I guess because they're running away usually together.
Yeah.
But mammals have such limited color vision that having that black and white or just white contrast, anything that's going to have like a high contrast anything is like the way that they can communicate with color.
Absolutely. And the pronghorn, like the face markings, we think, it's impossible to know for sure, but we think that a lot of that has to do with displays towards other pronghorns specifically, and towards mammal predators. So when a pronghorn is being defensive, they'll lower their head, which kind of like almost lines up their face markings with their horns and makes their horns look bigger, so they look more intimidating. Super cool.
That's cool.
And they'll also kind of cover up their chest markings when they do that. Again, just kind of making their body darker overall when they lower their head. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Super, super cool. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's cool. But I found a 2019 study that was looking at, it was a large group of animals, but I don't remember the exact number. But they looked at how every single pronghorn in this population died for like 2 years. And they found that this particular population of pronghorn, the only time an animal was taken was when it was sick. So literally the adult healthy pronghorns never succumbed to predation.
There was zero predation among this group.
Among the healthy
The
individuals.
healthy. Okay, so
Yeah,
all
so-
deaths were disease.
Yeah, so they were diseased, they had a broken leg, something like that.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So what animal in the events of successful predation, what animal is typically responsible?
A lot of times coyotes, actually.
Okay. Interesting.
But coyotes, wolves, pumas
Yeah.
will all take pronghorns.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this led me down kind of a rabbit hole, I guess. Have you heard of compensatory predation?
Compensatory predation.
Yeah.
I don't think, maybe, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I can't think of what it is.
redefine it here.
Okay. So essentially, by predators removing weak animals, fewer in the future are dying of starvation or sickness. So they're taking out these animals that would have ordinarily died from their sickness and basically not necessarily making the population healthier,
Yeah.
but these animals would have died anyways. So the predation that happens with a lot of pronghorn populations does not affect the population number overall. That's how good they are at avoiding predation.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
Kind
That's
of
what
like
you're saying.
ecologically built-in euthanasia when your animal's like not gonna recover from sickness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know if euthanasia is the right term for it, but yes.
Why not?
Because I think euthanasia means good death,
True.
and I doubt it's very nice.
Well, I mean, they're prey animals. They're like,
They go into shock. It's fine.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
they
right,
go into
you're
shock.
right.
Like
They
that's why
lock it
shock
down.
exists.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, I just found that really interesting that like for a lot of populations, like predation literally doesn't matter. And
Wild.
it brings up some really interesting like conservation issues, in that like a lot of times when we think of a prey animal, we're like, oh, we have to control the, you know, predator populations to help this prey animal. But that doesn't help pronghorn. So we have to figure out other ways to help them, which, you know, there's some successes, some failures there, but for most populations, not all, predation is not an issue.
Fascinating.
Okay, but I feel like I have heard, at least for some populations, that having a large coyote population leads to so many deaths of young pronghorn
Yes.
that it can like completely prevent them from reproducing.
Yes, it in some populations, especially coyotes, like you mentioned, absolutely affect numbers because of how the low success rate of the babies. Yeah.
Right.
And
so
they
there-
only at most have twins also.
So there is, like, that predation pressure is still significant. It is still a limiting factor on...
In some populations. Yeah, again, it just depends. It's all messy and kind of, you know,
Yeah.
there's no one rule for, when you're talking about a species with such a large range.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
It's probably fair to say that overall they have more deaths from contact with people and
Yeah.
in this form of cars or whatever else than
Yes.
with predators.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to the really crazy migrations that they do. Not all pronghorn migrate, but the migrating populations will migrate 150 miles or more every year.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about that, there's a really cool little documentary called Path of the Pronghorn. It's very lovely. Yeah, and one of the biggest things that we can do to help those migratory populations is road crossings, and especially fences are hard for them to navigate. Rachel has shared some really awful statistics. We don't have to share them today.
Horrific statistics about
yeah.
fences. I know that they've killed off pronghorn in Kansas too, just because like if there's something like deep snowfall, they don't have bison humps to get them shoveling snow out of the way. So they can literally just starve to death because they can't get out of a snowed-in pasture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty awful.
Indeed.
But we do know, like, I found a really specific diagram of like the perfect fence for wildlife. And, you know, you want like a lot of times it's 4 kind of strings across the fence from fence post to fence post. The top string will be smooth with no barbs. And if you can put like a piece of PVC or like flags on it, like metal or plastic flags on it that move, that helps with ground nesting birds not running into your fences. And then the bottom wire should also be smooth and about 8-10 inches off the ground is what's recommended, so that pronghorn and other wildlife can go underneath it, but cattle cannot. So like we know the solution, it's just a matter of funding and convincing people to implement those. So
Yeah.
Sure. You know what another potential solution would be, and this is a very hot take, but what if we took some of the 810 million acres devoted to beef production and we just like ate less beef?
yeah.
And put those families out of business.
Yes.
Put more money
Wow.
into conservation easements that can
Yes.
There you
give
go.
people livelihood
Yes.
from
Yes.
There you
having
go. Put a
lands in
wildlife
conservation.
corridor on your land.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some
let it pay as much as beef.
Yes.
yeah, which is difficult.
Yeah.
There are some really, really cool conservation stories around pronghorn and migration corridors in particular. There are pieces of their migration corridor that are only, I think, 150 meters wide, which is nothing when we think
Yeah.
about like the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that entire passage is protected forever. And so hopefully they will not be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
But yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
But yeah. That is all I have about pronghorn. I am glad that they have a lot of issues, obviously, like any animal. But we have very concrete ways to help them in ways that we have already helped them. So I feel like they'll be around.
There are
For a good long time.
endangered. There's at least one endangered subspecies, but
Two.
overall, two, the Baja and the Sonoran. But overall, pronghorn fairly stable.
Yes.
Fairly.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
cool.
heavily hunted. Like,
Yeah. For sure.
they're doing very well.
I'm sure we have good numbers on them for that reason too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep, indeed.
It's kind of nice. I don't know. I think of pronghorn as being pretty rare because they are in the Great Plains region anyway, or at least like the mixed grass, like tall grass part of the Great Plains region. But God, there's just so much space out in like sagebrush country for them to be running around.
I feel like you go to western Kansas, eastern Colorado, you start to see a ton of them.
Yes. And especially, so like Wyoming has a ton of pronghorn. There are more pronghorn in Wyoming than people.
Nice.
Like significantly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's not that many.
It's not that impressive when you think about
It is Wyoming.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Cool.
There's over 500,000 pronghorn just in Wyoming alone.
Wow.
And that was an old number. I'm sure that it's higher now.
Dang.
That's more than the population of Wichita.
It's true. Those pronghorn have 2 senators.
They should.
They should. They should.
Representation for pronghorns. Pronghorns are people too. Let them vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing well. Have you
very
seen
good.
pronghorn wild?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've actually this is
Yeah.
I've been in the car when we hit a pronghorn.
I can cut this out. That's all right.
No, but like I think what's interesting is I've heard a lot of stories of pronghorn, which sound like old wives' tales about how they enjoy racing so much that they will like race alongside your car, and then like to show off they'll try to cross in front of you. But that's exactly what happened to us, and it was at night, and it like tried to cross in front of us, and we were going like 40, 45 miles an hour down the road, and it was like, what the heck? Anyway, it was like it ran off the road of its own volition, and it was during a ferret survey. So later that morning we went down the same road to try and see if we could find it, to see what happened to it, and we couldn't find a corpse. So it did knock the headlight of the truck out though.
Dang.
Nice.
So maybe the truck took a lot of the damage from that impact. I don't know.
What a lovely story.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Anyway, pretty impressive to see a pronghorn overtake your truck going at 40 miles an hour down a dirt road.
Yeah,
That's
they
super
fast.
cool.
Yeah, speedy.
Speedy babies.
It's not quite fast enough.
All right, well, sounds like your fault.
I mean, I wasn't driving.
All right.
Anyways.
Well, Nicole,
Yes.
let me be the one to say that was a delightful episode. I learned a great deal. I thought about things I did not think I would think about today. And now my brain is juicier for it.
I'm glad.
I think you've really done the animal at the center of our banner justice here.
Did we do a meerkat episode?
We did. Yeah.
Whole meerkat.
I haven't done a
meerkat.
fairy wren episode.
Well, guess
More
what?
mobs. More
Get on
mobs
it.
needed.
All right, we're
Get
working
on
on
it.
it, guys.
Much more to come here this season. Thank you for joining us. The Best Biome is produced by our nonprofit Grassland Groupies. Follow us on the socials and grasslandgroupies.org. We'll have a new episode of Best Biome for you next month, where Rachel will be telling us a tale of something from the grasslands.
Beautiful.
Probably
I actually don't
birds.
think that's true.
Probably birds.
I think you're the next one to record.
Oh,
Never
yeah, that's
mind.
weird.
It's me.
Our release schedule is different from
Yeah.
our recording schedule.
Yeah.
Get ready to spend some time with me, everybody.
Alan time.
Anything else? Bye.
Bye.
No bye from Nicole?
It's pretty 50-50 on when I do it.
Wow.
Wow.
Nicole says bye.